There are millions of games in existence to this day, and this number doesn't do anything other than grow up as we speak. Millions of experience to discover. And knowing this, we decide to pick up the same 3 or 4 games to play. Why? Well, there are reasons considering who you are as a person, and others that simply are related to how the industry works nowadays. I want you to think about one game that you play often. Maybe you don't even have to think about it. You are playing it right now as you watch this video. Can you tell me how many hours you have in that game nowadays? Do you even regret those hours you put into it? If the answer is yes, I will redirect you to this video in the corner. Then, if the answer is no, I will just say this. Preach, sister! You shouldn't be ashamed of spending hours in a game you enjoy. And let me tell you something obvious that you need to hear more often. Every time you spend it doing something, you are already missing out in millions of other stuff. You are constantly missing out in something, and you know what? That's okay. You can't be everywhere at the same time. What I mean by this is that sure, there are a lot of games to try it out, and you will be missing out in a lot of nice games by playing the same stuff over and over and over. But as long as you don't feel burnout, keep it going. The time may or may not come for you to try new stuff, but time you have fun is not really time wasted. That being said, sometimes we form this narrative to ourselves that tell us that we don't have enough hours in the day to do what we want to do, or to play anything new. Sometimes that narrative is even true. Long day after work, or with the kids, you have a little time to play, you're just not gonna spend it that time trying to look out for a new game you might even not like in the first place. And you know what they say? Better the devil you know. But what happens when you do actually want to try a new game and you feel the industry is on your way? Well, let me tell you that you might be even right on that one. Games nowadays have a lot of positive aspects that they have bad ones. Size of the games become bigger, gotta start thinking if you want to uninstall a game you're already playing and just not touching by a couple of weeks to take a break from it, just to install a new one, especially when you are playing already live service games that just keeps constantly updating and making that issue bigger and bigger. Maybe you cannot even run them on your PC, or if you play on console, maybe the first couple of months your game doesn't even run as well as it could be, and that makes your experience more uncomfortable than it should be to your eyes. Back in the day, we used to have these old tube TVs that fix the frame rate for our eyes, and I'm not gonna dive too deep into it, but what I mean by this is that they were capable to make your 30 FPS game look as it was a game with 60 FPS, cause they used to run the frames twice per frame. You know what else is a sight for sore eyes? If you scroll down and leave a like and subscribe. I'm very sure you also heard this phrase when you are recommended to play something new. Ah yeah, by the way, the game starts slow but becomes very interesting after 10 hours. Good luck, eh? Well, to these people, let me tell you that you are probably the worst at recommending games. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong though. I understand that sometimes take a bit to catch up, but if being slow on start is not part of its charm and it's just a chore, I won't invest time into playing a game that it needs a certain amount of hours to set up to the fun part. And don't get me started on how games cost nowadays. I'm so glad that we have sales too often to suffice this issue. There is also something funny about playing the same games when those are live service ones. Just by pure statistics, the games you play are from the same genre, or similar at the very least. And that's why usually when you play a couple of games you'll notice that the update dates tend to be similar between each other, cause companies want your attention the most. Cause the more time you spend in a game, the more likely you are to spend more money in that game. There are other ways on how they farm your FOMO, but that's one of them. Just so you can keep in mind every time you boot up your usual game. I would say the people that probably enjoy the most playing the same 3 or 4 games are the ones that mod their games, simply because they just have infinite content made by the community, and when they get bored they can just simply swap around everything and play a new game in their same favorite game. If we talk about the indie scene, you have the problem that is oversaturated with games that they look way too similar between each other, with their nostalgic graphics and repeated genres. Once one blows up, hundreds of hours copy the formula and make it similar to the point that you don't even know which one to pick in the first place to begin with. With all this in mind, you shouldn't be surprised at all if you have friends that only wants to play the same 3 games. In fact, you should be happy that they do want to try new games with you. They must really like you to start a new game with you, considering all things I pointed out in this video. And don't get me wrong though, this video is not really about complaining over the industry as a whole nowadays. I just wanted you to understand what's the reasoning behind why you only play the same games just to not fall in the usual cause I like them more. There are a ton of stuff I love about this industry, and the fact that nowadays you have the access to play most of the games that were back in the day to begin with, even on a better quality that we used to, just makes the catalog of games bigger and nice to remember the old days, or just to play games you enjoy more than the ones that release now. If you have been watching my videos lately, in which if you haven't, you should go and do that, just saying. You know that I like to evoke the emotional part of the topics that I treat in this channel. And what if you simply just don't want to play anything else cause you already just have fun with the games you always play? Maybe those games give you memories and love that only you can enjoy. Maybe you just enjoy playing with your friends and don't really care what game is in the background. Maybe you have the Stockholm syndrome that is buying cosmetics in your favorite games and can't leave them no matter how much you hate them because you already spent so much money on them without realizing your money was already well spent because you already enjoyed the time with those skins. Is this any of you by any chance? I'm a bit of everything, except maybe of the skins ones, I can't lie. Personally, I have my seasons in which I play a ton of games, others that I'm hyper fixated with one game only or a franchise in particular, and my current one in which I'm just playing the 2 or 3 games aside of what I can put of my own footage for the videos. My backlog has a ton of games that has so many hours to complete in each one of them, and barely ever feel like finishing them at this point. And you know what? That's okay. I have no rush in finishing my library of games at this point. I will eventually buy and play new ones even before finishing mine, or even just keep playing the same 3 or 4 games that I always play. At least till I feel burnout. Sometimes it's not really about playing a ton of games. Neither is playing a ton of hours in the same games you already play. It's just about playing games in the right time, and the right amount of time you wanna put on. I like both old games and new games, and if you do as well, consider leaving a like and a subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. If you want more videos like this, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye!